Hi everyone! So, long time no see. In case you missed it, I have been gifted a fantastic eye infection, pink eye. A couple days before Christmas, I had the worst eye infection I've ever had in my entire life, and I've never had pink eye before, and this was horrible. My whole left eye was swollen completely shut, and my right eye was a little bad, but mostly it was my left eye, and it's still not great. It's still very red, it's still very watery and gross, and I obviously can't put eye makeup on, so hence the sunglasses, because I've had so many ideas and so many videos that I was going to do over my little break, because I actually have a little bit of time off work, and I was like, I'm gonna do this and this and this and this and this, and then the universe is like, haha, just kidding. How about you do nothing? And so, anyway, I thought I would just rock my Shania Twain That Don't Impress Me Much look for a super quick little video where I talk about some of the things that didn't impress me in 2018. I picked 8 different makeup products, some things that I've tried and some things that I haven't tried, and this ring light reflection might get a little annoying. Sorry about that in advance, but I couldn't let the rest of the year go without a video, so I thought I would try this out with this horrible distraction, because I know you miss seeing so much of my beautiful face. And I'll probably do like an inventory or something else, something that doesn't involve me actually being on camera, maybe another swatch party or something. I've missed doing this so much, and I just have had so many ideas. So anyway, I have my little notebook here with all of my products listed in it, and I thought I would just go through them pretty quickly, share a few of my thoughts, and just hopefully be able to chat with you guys a little bit, because as I've mentioned in a few other places, I just miss it a lot, and it sucks that so much of everything involves my eyes. So anyway, the first thing, so I kind of went back and tried to do slightly chronological order, although I definitely took a few liberties here and there, and it was hard picking just 8 things actually. But the first thing, the way we set off 2018 was with the Tarte Shape Tape Foundation. So this was really hyped up a lot. People were so excited for this because the Shape Tape concealer was so impressive. Like, so many people had that as their holy grail. And then people saw the shade range, or lack thereof, and it completely set the tone for 2018. People were really upset with Tarte, and for good reason, because they had 15 shades of beige, and it was just really not impressive for so many different reasons. People were expecting huge numbers of shades, or at least a good diverse range of shades, and the amount of just middle of the road beige shades was just so disappointing. There was absolutely no reason why they couldn't have released more shades. It was just such a huge mistake. And then they were talking about, someone from Tarte was talking about how, well, people with darker skin tones have lighter skin in the wintertime. There was this really weird interview, and it was just very cringy, and they just handled it poorly. They handled it so poorly, the whole situation, from hyping up the release to the limited shades to their response afterwards to the criticism. I feel like if they had acknowledged the error in their ways, it would have been so much better. So much better. Just such a horrible situation and such a horrible way to start off 2018. Like, 2018, I feel like overall was such a weird year, but for the beauty industry, there were so many terrible things, and that was just sort of letting people know what was ahead. The second thing that was disappointing, in my opinion, is the Anasazi Soft Glam palette. Now, I know a lot of people really love this palette. For me, it was disappointing because Anastasia has been known as being groundbreaking. Their eyeshadow palettes have been really remarkable. When you look at Modern Renaissance, when it first came out, it was so unique to itself, and then people started copying it. And then there was Subculture, which, despite its flaws, was absolutely a unique palette. And Prism, you just had so many unique things that they were doing, and they were starting trends and not following them. And Soft Glam just fit in with everything else that was going on. There was a lot of repeat shades from those previously mentioned palettes, from the Anasazi Single Shadows. It was just boring. And for such a new release into 2018, it was like, okay, I guess we're not really going to get anything special for this year. And we really didn't. Anasazi had a couple of palettes come out in 2018. The Ravina palette, the Sultry palette. I mean, the Sultry palette was definitely very pretty and a lot cooler looking in tone, and the Norvina palette had a lot of pretty shades, but nothing was really like, wow, this is a game changer. This is a game changer. And Soft Glam was just the thing for me that was just so boring when I saw those teaser pictures. There's probably going to be a lot of eyeshadow palettes here just because that's kind of my forte. I know. I haven't been able to wear eyeshadow for a whole week. It's killing me. Urban Decay has had quite a few terrible releases this year, especially when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. Two particular ones. So the Backtalk palette is a palette that I purchased, I was really excited for, and it's one of the worst things I've ever tried, ever. I'm not exaggerating. It really is that horrible. The quality is awful. The shades are just so repetitive, and it really changed my opinion of Urban Decay a lot because the quality of the formula was so bad compared to the other things I've used. And it really was an eye-opener for me when it came to people who reviewed eyeshadow palettes and people who were on PR lists and stuff, because like it was such a bad palette, and when people were saying good things about it, I was instantly like, are they on the PR list? Did they get this for free? Yep. And like everybody who got it for free said something good about it. And it really just made me go, okay. Because it was really bad. The blushes are nice. So like there was 4 blushes. It's a weird palette layout as well, where you had like the mirror you could pop out in the middle, and then you had eyeshadow on one side and blushes on the other. The blushes were really good, but the eyeshadows were all horrible. And the Naked Petite Heat palette was another one of Urban Decay's releases from 2018 that was just so lackluster. It really was just a small selection of shades that looked exactly like the ones from the big Naked Heat palette. It wasn't a palette that went alongside the Naked Heat palette, which is what I initially thought it would be, going along with palettes like the Naked Basics palette and Basics 2, which brought something to the original Naked palette and Naked 2 that wasn't already there. It was just a mini version of the palette, which just seemed kind of pointless to me because the shades were so common. There was nothing unusual about it. If they had picked a few different shades, like a brighter orange or a red or a matte yellow or something that would have still been fiery, but not an exact repeat of what was already in the larger palette. And they've had quite a few, like I said, palettes they've released that have just been so boring, so predictable. You look at it and you're like, oh, okay. They had like the beachy palette that was like blue, two pops of blue and a bunch of like the orangey shade, which was basically like the same shades from the Petite Heat palette. And it was like, okay, you know, people are gonna do like the orange on the lid and the blue on the lower lash line, and it was just yawn. Urban Decay was so boring this year overall. I feel like I could have also done this as like brands that didn't impress me this year, because there was also quite a few brands and just in general. Now, I will mention another eyeshadow palette that I actually really love, but I'm going to mention it because I know a lot of people did not love it, and it really started some people having a little bit of backlash against Natasha Denona because of formula change, and that's the Tropic palette. I really like the Tropic palette. I will say the little metallic shades at the bottom are not spectacular. Definitely had to use them wet, which is unlike other Natasha metallic formula, so I get the issue there. The beautiful shades, I absolutely love using that palette, and I think the formula is fantastic, and I really like the palette itself, but because the formula was so different from the previous popular palettes like Lila and Sunset, people have very mixed reactions to it. People seem to either really love it, like me, or really hate it, and it made people not want to use Natasha Denona again. And in this section, I thought that I would also mention the Huda Beauty little mini palettes, those little jewel toned palettes. I had the green one. I love the shades in it so much, but the formula is awful, and I find that the shadows just don't last well at all. This is my experience. I've mentioned it before, and other people in the comments have said that they did not have the experience that I did, but I feel like it's worth noting that there has been mixed reactions to this as well, because people were so excited for it because there was these tiny little palettes with beautiful color schemes, stuff we had been wanting. A lot of people I noticed in the YouTube community, like people with smaller channels especially, have been fighting really hard for more unique makeup products, things that are not like your typical assortment of things, and especially when it comes to eyeshadows, things that are a little bit more interesting and more unique color stories, and this definitely fit that. And it wasn't a huge palette either, it was just like little tiny things. It was perfect, but the formula was such a mistake, and I love using it and I get compliments on my eyeshadow whenever I use it, but it just fades away within a couple of hours and it just like glitter down my face. It's awful. Speaking of glitter all down my face, the Cover FX glitter drops. I was really excited for these because glitter. I really wanted 2018 to be the year of glitter, and a lot of glittery products came out. A lot of like glitter powders and glitter lotions, and I think we're kind of getting back into like 2001 again. And I was really excited for these glitter drops. I got a little sample of it and it is pure glitter. I love it. A lot of people hated it. A lot of people are used to the Cover FX drops that they can mix with foundation, or they would use as bronzer or highlighter, and it was like very glow from within. And this was just very, this is glitter. There's no other way of saying it. You couldn't really use it as a typical highlighter because it was just chunks of glitter. So people were like, how do I use this? Why would I spend $50 on a bunch of glitter? And I get that. Totally get that. It's just what I really wanted to see more. I was hoping for a more positive reaction to that, so we would see more glittery things, and I don't think glitter will ever die, but there was definitely a few products this year that made people go, maybe, maybe not. The next thing is the Kylie Jenner collaboration with her mother, Kris Jenner. That collection in general was really lackluster and really boring, and it seemed to be kind of poor quality. It's not something that I've tried personally, but I watched a lot of reviews on it. I was just curious. I thought it looked kind of cute. I like pop culture stuff. Maybe that's obvious. So it was interesting to me in that regard. I thought the names of the products were really funny and really like on brand, but the products itself were just yawn. I feel like Kylie's brand in general struggled a little bit in terms of uniqueness. There was a few things they'd done before that was very interesting, but I mean, she's so successful. I feel like she doesn't really have to try. So like she has one of the most successful beauty brands out there simply because it's Kylie Jenner's brand. So she doesn't really have to do a whole lot. But that also means she could take risks, I think, and it could be a little interesting whether or not people would want to support her as a whole other thing entirely. I'm simply talking about like disappointing, lackluster products. And the Beauty Blender foundation, this is a very similar thing to the Tarte foundation. So they, unlike Tarte though, they said that they were going to have a ton of shades. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was more than 40. And it was just a very disappointing assortment of shades. And I remember reading an interview a little while later that was talking about the focus being on undertones, which, okay, I get that, and I know that sometimes in foundations undertones are lacking. I believe it was supposed to be like a focus on like olive undertones, if I'm remembering correctly, but I just remember it being that was supposed to be the focus, or at least that was sort of the explanation that was given. And I feel like if it had been marketed that way, it would have made a little bit more sense maybe, like, hey, this is how we're rolling this out. We're trying to focus more on undertones, more shades will be coming, or, you know, we'd love to hear from you, more feedback, what's missing or something. Seemed very unfinished to me, not very well thought out, like they hadn't seen the whole Tarte fiasco from a few months earlier. And then they send out those giant PR packages with like the giant beauty blenders and like more beauty blenders than people would ever need in their entire life. And it was just very strange that they would spend so much into the PR, but not into the product itself. Especially because there has been such a huge magnifying glass on the beauty community for the last couple of years especially, and a lot of people are becoming more aware of the problems and they're seeing it instantly. And everything is so accessible that the backlash happens immediately. And it's just, these brands that do stuff like this, it's so incredibly disappointing. And the last thing is the Jaclyn and Morphe Vault, those eyeshadow palettes. I feel like I could have probably mentioned that with formula changes as well, but I thought it kind of deserved its own spot on here because that was one of those huge things that was, people were talking about it for months and are still talking about it, how bad those eyeshadows were, and just what a mess it was when they said that there was problems with it, there weren't problems with it, there was different batches, some people had good ones, some people had bad ones, then they were releasing new ones, and there was issues with the stickers on the boxes and whether or not they had actually got rid of the old palettes or they were still selling them. And then there was, Jaclyn made that video where she addressed it, and there was all these controversies that kind of happened, spiraled off of it. Like people were talking about Jaclyn and how she was supposed to work with Makeup Geek, and Makeup Geek Marlena came out with that video talking about people being paid for negative reviews and then people getting paid a large amount of money for positive reviews and even just to talk about a product. And it kind of all seems so closely tied together because of Jaclyn and because of Morphe and because of the spotlight that's been on Morphe with their products being so hit and miss. Like there's definitely been things that have been good, there's things that have been bad, there's issues with James Charles palette, and it's such chaotic craziness. And I feel like 2019 could be a whole lot worse. I hate saying that. I want to feel like 2019 is going to be better. We're going to rise above, but I really don't think it's going to happen. I think that we're going to see more crap. I think we're going to see more terrible products. I think we're going to see more safe products. I think we're going to see more drama, more controversies, and who knows what we'll be talking about this time next year, but I think it'll be a fun ride. Anyway, 2018 was interesting, to say the very least. Let me know what products didn't impress you over the last year. Do you agree with any of the things I talked about? If you don't, make sure to let me know as well. I love having good discussions with you guys. Keep it simple, please. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and I hope I will get to see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.